Most airports are equipped with giant kitchens where meals are prepared for passengers of various airlines simultaneously. And because the airplane food is delicious, it needs to be cooked around 6 to 10 hours before the flight. These kitchens have to work non-stop. Additionally, demanding your flight to be made a year in advance is a common practice for most airlines. Every ingredient is crucial, adding to the expenses. In fact, American Airlines managed to save $40,000 per year in 1987 by eliminating one olive from each salad they served. If you have a long layover between flights, going to the nearest hotel to rest might not be the most affordable option. There's a much better trick. Check if the airport or airline offers 24-hour access to the VIP lounge. Usually, you can enjoy complimentary snacks and drinks there, as well as use the shower cabins and resting rooms for a very reasonable price. There is a term for the first 60 minutes after you complete check-in, and it's called the golden hour. During this time, passengers statistically spend more money in retail areas and enjoy duty-free shopping at the airport. It's a clever trick to entice you to shop while sitting in the most comfortable seats conveniently placed in front of eye-catching stores or shopping windows. It's definitely tempting. If you're curious about what happens to your baggage once you're on the plane, the short answer is that airport staff won't know. After your baggage leaves their jurisdiction, they might not be too concerned either. Sorry, but the truth is, your baggage is automatically sorted. Scanners scan the barcodes and sort the baggage according to their destinations. The three main tasks of airport baggage handling are moving your bags from the check-in area to the gate, transferring them from one gate to another, and moving them from the plane to the baggage claim area. And that's it. So, if your bags don't move quickly enough, your connecting flight could be delayed or vice versa. Your bags might arrive at the destination before you do because you're stuck at passport control. Other issues can arise if you forget to remove old destination stickers. If that happens, the scanner might send your bag to another country. You arrive at the airport, looking forward to being away from work and everyday problems for a few weeks. You park your car in the parking lot, only to find out that it's going to cost you a significant amount of money to leave your car there. Why does all of this happen? Well, the fact is, airport parking is a business just like any other. The land where these parking lots are built, the construction, and the maintenance, everything costs money once they're in operation. All of that requires a significant amount of money, and someone has to pay for it. Additionally, parking your vehicle right next to the airport provides great convenience, so it's understandable that the costs end up being higher. If you're not prepared to dig deep into your pockets for that extra comfort, taking a taxi is always an option. Contrails, the white trails often left by airplanes at high altitudes, are often misunderstood as engine smoke. However, they are simply water vapor. During the flight, water vapor in the air accumulates in the engine before being expelled along with the exhaust. The hot, moist air from the engine mixes with the cold, dry air found at high altitudes, creating long, thin lines of vapor. The humidity determines when these trails form and how long they remain visible. If the air up there is already humid, there is more water, and the trails are more visible. When it's cold, the droplets can even freeze, prolonging their visibility. If someone were to open the door mid-flight, they would be immediately sucked out of the plane due to the sudden change in air pressure. It could also cause serious damage to the aircraft. Fortunately, it's nearly impossible for that to happen. The doors on airplanes open inward, while the cabin pressure pushes them outward from the inside. The difference in pressure between the interior and exterior makes it impossible to open the door. It may seem odd when flight attendants ask you to open the window shades, but the main reason is to allow passengers' eyes to adjust to the outside light. Essentially, it helps passengers to embark and disembark quickly. However, in emergency situations, the flight crew doesn't want people to stop and look outside before evacuating the aircraft. Another reason for opening the window shades during takeoff or landing is for ground crew to visually inspect the aircraft for any issues. For example, if there is a fire in the cabin, the ground crew will immediately notice it and act accordingly. If the shades were closed, they might lose valuable time needed to rescue passengers. Flight crews have notice numbers at the end of the runway. These numbers serve as important markers for pilots, indicating the length of the runway and assisting with safe takeoff and landing. They are actually used to indicate the direction the aircraft is facing to the pilot. For example, the number 36 is a shorthand for pointing towards 360 degrees or north. Along with the letter R and L, they indicate whether the nearest runway is on the right or left. Every commercial aircraft you board has only one wing. Seriously, the left and right wings of an airplane are actually two parts of a single wing. The first aircraft was called a biplane because it had two wings, one on top and the other below the fuselage. Both wings were connected by struts and wires, forming a sort of box that prevented the airplane from breaking apart in the air. This feature was necessary at lower speeds, which could only be achieved by early aircraft. But as engine power increased, the second wing became unnecessary. One wing alone could still support the entire aircraft structure. By looking out the window on the wing of the aircraft, you may notice small yellow double hooks. It might seem strange because they could potentially disrupt the aerodynamics, but they are actually designed for your safety during an emergency landing. These hooks are used to secure ropes that assist passengers in exiting the aircraft through the wing. If it's slippery, the ropes will help you maintain traction and prevent you from slipping while descending. There are several fast-moving air currents in our planet's atmosphere, and their paths can be winding. However, there are relatively constant air currents known as jet streams, which allow passenger aircraft to utilize them when flying in their vicinity. The aircraft may adjust its course to align with these jet streams and fly much faster as it is propelled by these currents. Many airlines take advantage of them to reduce fuel costs and make air travel faster. Clouds, especially thunderclouds, can indicate the presence of turbulent areas ahead. However, sometimes clear air turbulence can occur, and the aircraft may suddenly drop a few feet and start shaking without any warning. This happens when two air masses collide at high speeds, and it is completely invisible, so the pilot has no way of knowing when it will happen. The chances of encountering clear air turbulence are higher at low altitudes, above mountains, and near jet streams. Usually, when an aircraft is struck by lightning, it is promptly sent for inspection after landing but can still complete its flight safely. The aircraft's structure conducts electricity quite well, similar to a lightning rod, so the lightning strike is likely to hit one end of the aircraft, such as a wing or the nose. Then, the discharge will seek a path to the ground, often exiting through the tail. Electricity flows more easily on the surface of the aircraft than into the interior, ensuring the safety of the people inside from its impact. However, lightning is still extremely powerful, and there may be damage to the exterior of the aircraft. You don't need to worry if there is an S letter on your boarding pass. There is something more dangerous than turbulence that we'll discuss shortly. You may have noticed that most airplane seats are blue. There is a reason why airlines choose this color. Blue is considered to have a calming effect, making passengers feel relaxed and helping to ease nervousness. But there is another practical reason too. Stains and scratches are not as visible on dark blue fabric. Do not discard your boarding pass in public places. Boarding passes contain sensitive information, including your name and passenger number. Others could check your reservation, change your seat, or even cancel your flight. It's better to take your boarding pass home for the flight you have already taken and shred it with a paper shredder. By the way, if you see the letters SSS or S on your boarding pass, be prepared for further inspection by airport security officers. These letters may be replaced with a checkered pattern. Basically, if you have this mark on your boarding pass, your carry-on bag will also be thoroughly checked. Why are you asked to undergo a secondary screening? Usually, it's because you purchased a one-way ticket or paid with cash, but this screening can also be conducted randomly. Check if the gate has opened and it's time to board the plane. No need to rush or run around. A trick experienced travelers use is to always be the last one to board the plane, so you don't have to queue up. Plus, the overhead bins and aisle won't be too crowded, and you won't spend too much time on the plane. Moreover, your seat won't be taken by someone else. But there's one exception: if you have a large carry-on bag, don't be the last to board, as the overhead storage compartments might be full by the time you reach your seat. Later on, your bag may be stored far away from you, and you'll have to wait for other passengers to disembark before you can retrieve it. You wouldn't want that, right? Before takeoff and landing, cabin crew usually move a small lever on the toilet door to prevent it from suddenly opening. This also means that the cabin crew can open the toilet door when someone is inside. They just need to lift the occupied sign and open the door. Pilots are not concerned about turbulence because they know there is something much more dangerous than turbulence: upgrades. In most cases, turbulence only causes the plane to descend a few meters, although it may feel like falling from the top of the Empire State Building. So, turbulence is strong enough for the pilot to instruct the cabin crew to take their seats. The plane may descend 3 to 6 meters. The most extreme and intense turbulence rarely occurs, but an air pocket, AB draft, is a large mass of air associated with storms or other weather phenomena that moves upward. Pilots cannot see upgrades on their radar. When the plane passes through an air pocket at night, it feels like going over a speed bump at 800 kilometers per hour, and it's extremely dangerous as it can push the plane to an unsafe altitude. Modern planes have special systems that detect other aircraft, mountains, and solid objects along their flight path. If another aircraft is within 16 kilometers, a warning sound will be heard in the cockpit, and as it gets closer, around 8 kilometers, the sound starts to provide the pilot with directional information. Planes can operate with just one engine, even during takeoff and landing. It's very rare for an aircraft to experience a simultaneous failure of both engines. However, even in such a case, the plane won't just plummet from the sky like a rock. The pilot has around 20 minutes to find a suitable place to land. Low cabin pressure has a significant impact on our sense of taste. We lose about 30% of our ability to perceive sweetness and saltiness. So, it's not that the food on the plane is tasteless, but rather that you may not be able to fully taste it. That's why airline catering companies add extra salt and seasoning to their meals. However, you can use noise-canceling earphones to help alleviate this issue. For some reason, perhaps scientifically explained, reducing noise can aid in enhancing our taste perception. Each sound you hear during the flight has meaning on most airlines. For example, the Boeing sound you hear shortly after takeoff indicates that the landing gear is being retracted. Sequential three-dimensional chimes indicate more urgent messages compared to a single chime. Combinations of high and low tones let the cabin crew know that their colleagues require assistance in another part of the plane. 3 low chimes indicate the likelihood of severe turbulence, prompting the cabin crew to secure food trolleys, take their seats, and fasten their seat belts. If you feel nervous while flying, choosing a seat in the middle of the cabin is recommended. Turbulence is typically felt more strongly in the front and rear sections of the plane, while it's less noticeable above the wings in the middle section. The pilot and co-pilot eat different meals for a simple reason. Just imagine if both pilots ate the same dish and both of them got food poisoning. In such a scenario, they wouldn't be able to control the aircraft. To prevent this, there is a rule that pilots cannot eat the same meal at the same time. If one pilot has a particular dish, the other pilot cannot have it until several hours later. Now, let's talk about the dirtiest spots on the plane. It's not the armrests, not even the toilets. According to cabin crew members, you should be careful with the headrests, seat pockets, tray tables, and seat belts. Based on experiments, 1 out of 3 seat belts is contaminated with mold, and most tray tables are filled with bacteria. Seat pockets are also quite dirty, but the headrests are the dirtiest of all. The front section of the cabin often doesn't have enough time to change or disinfect them between flights. When the captain announces that they are completing paperwork, It means they are busy reviewing the flight schedule or waiting for ground staff to prepare flight records. These records are the official logbook of the journey. Some aircraft, especially those that fly long distances, have secret rooms for the cabin crew to rest. These rooms, called rest compartments, are located at the back of the plane or behind the cockpit. They can contain up to 10 comfortable beds for the cabin crew to take rest. The airplane windows are made of super strong flexible glass that can withstand high speeds. The shape of the windows is uniquely designed to counteract the high pressure inside the cabin by pressing against the aircraft body, making them resistant to breakage. In the past, airplane windows were square-shaped, but the concentrated pressure at the corners made them fragile. This meant that each square window had 4 weak points, which could lead to window breakage due to high-altitude pressure. Fortunately, this issue was resolved by making the airplane windows oval-shaped. This shape helps distribute the pressure and reduces the likelihood of cracks or other damage. Usually, airplanes are struck by lightning, at least once a year or once every 1,000 flight hours. Nowadays, aircraft are designed to safely conduct electrical currents through the aluminum structure of the plane, ensuring that the aircraft doesn't get damaged. But did you know that airplanes not only get struck by lightning but can also trigger lightning? When an aircraft flies through clouds, the friction between the aircraft body and the air generates static electricity. Sometimes, this can lead to a lightning discharge. Just like when you make popcorn in the microwave and there are unpopped kernels, you can dispose of them before opening the bag. Look for the small hole at the top. Shake the bag over a plate, and all the kernels will fall through that hole. It's better to peel off a post-it note sticker from the side instead of from the bottom to keep the paper flat without curling. When peeling a banana, start from the top. You don't need to squeeze the bottom. This hole in the handle of a saucepan can be used not only for hanging it on the wall but also for inserting a spoon while cooking. Chinese food takeout containers can be unfolded to make the 4 sides flat on the table. Just remove the folds of the container. This way, you'll have a container that resembles a plate, and hot food will cool down faster. An easy way to peel an orange is by cutting off the top and bottom, then slicing it in the middle and separating the segments. Everyone is mistaken when it comes to using neck pillows. Usually, people have the U-shaped ends of the pillow pointing forward. The correct position is to rotate the pillow, where the curve should be under your chin and the ends should point towards the back of your neck. This position provides much greater comfort, allowing you to sleep soundly. Ceiling fans have 2 modes for cool and hot weather. Look for the button on the fan and press it upwards for the cool weather mode or downwards for the hot weather mode. In the hot weather mode, the fan pushes air downwards, while in the cool weather mode, it pulls air upwards. According to etiquette rules, you should let people exit the room, building, or elevator before you enter. They should go out first, and only then can you enter. If you are already inside, it means you should be the one to exit first. This simple rule helps avoid collision from your mouth using the toothpick. Here's the correct method of tying a garbage bag without creating a small hole on top. Instead of tying a thin string, lift the bag to create a loop, wrap the knot around it through the loop, and pull tight. This will secure the bag without causing any punctures. When drying shoes in a dryer, tie the shoelaces and place the shoes inside. However, leave the ends of the shoelaces sticking out. This way, the shoelaces won't get caught in the dryer's clamps. For headphones, it's more suitable to wear them with the cable directed upwards and then wrap the cable around the back of your ear. This will prevent the headphones from falling out of your ears. Hairpins should be attached with the wavy side facing the head. This way, the pins won't easily fall out of your hair. Avoid brushing your teeth too quickly with an electric toothbrush. Take your time and use gentle movements instead. An electric toothbrush should gently brush your teeth. You can tear open a sugar packet with one hand. Hold the packet above you, place it between your index and middle fingers, then press your thumb against the center of the packet. The middle part will tear, and the sugar will easily come out. When pouring juice or milk, the perforated neck of the carton should be on the top side. This way, your drink won't splash out excessively. If you enter a room while still wearing sunglasses and wonder where to put them, you can hang them on your shirt collar or put them in your pocket. The best way is to place them in your breast pocket with the lenses facing inward, so only one arm is outside the pocket. This will keep your sunglasses safe and protect the lenses. Don't forget to close the toilet lid when flushing. Tiny particles that are invisible to the eye, along with germs, can splash when you press the flush button and the lid is left open. You don't need to remove the plastic lid of a dishwasher tablet and crush it. Simply place the tablet in the detergent compartment, close it, and the water will dissolve the plastic. However, note that this may not apply to all brands, so it's advisable to read the instructions first. The storage compartment below the stove isn't maximized if you only place pans and pots there. You can use it to keep food warm since the heat from the oven will help to keep it heated. This can be useful if you're waiting and running a bit late. Almost everyone has a plunger or rubber-shaped pump. In movies, we often see this tool being used to unclog a toilet. However, this plunger is actually meant for unclogging sinks. If you need to unclog a toilet, you should use a different specialized plunger. When eating tacos, people often worry about the fillings falling out from one end. Just place an extra tortilla on your plate, and all the fillings will fall onto it, allowing you to enjoy a smaller taco. When peeling vegetables with a peeler, most people make one forward motion with the peeler and then place the blade at the back to peel off the skin. However, you can peel the skin in the opposite direction and move the peeler back and forth. This method is faster and more efficient. Don't insert the belt of a bathrobe from the back. Instead, pull it out and insert it into the side opening near the waist. Then tie the belt as usual. This way, the bathrobe will fit snugly around your body. Many of us use the toilet seat cover incorrectly. The correct way is to place the rounded side of the cover in the middle, facing the back of the toilet seat. In advertisements, we often see the entire surface of the toothbrush covered with toothpaste. In reality, a small dot is enough to brush your teeth. Companies want you to use up your toothpaste quickly and buy more, which is why they show the wrong and wasteful way of using toothpaste. We have been using deodorant incorrectly all this time. The most effective way to use deodorant is to apply it at night before going to bed. The easiest way to peel garlic is to put it in a microwave-safe bowl, cut off the top, and microwave for 20 to 30 seconds. The garlic skin will come off easily. Most people cut pizza from the middle to the edge, causing the toppings to spill. The correct and easy way is to cut the pizza horizontally from one edge to the other. You only need 2 cuts to divide the pizza into 4, 3 cuts for 6, and so on. It turns out you don't need to wrap your suitcase with protective plastic. You can put an old shirt on the outside of the suitcase, making sure the handle sticks out of the collar, and don't forget to make a small hole for the side handle. The small table on an airplane seat can also be used as a foot hammock. Tie your belt, blanket, or towel to the table and hang your feet. When you need a specific letter or word on your phone screen, you don't need to press your finger on the text area. Press and hold the spacebar to control the slider. This function works on all iPhones. The Spotlight function on Mac is not designed for quick file and application search. You can use the search bar as a calculator. Enter the equation you need to solve. Spotlight also uses internal dictionary data. Type the word and you will get data from the dictionary about that word. If you are hungry and don't know what to order at a restaurant, there is a special mobile app that can help you. The app shows the appearance, size, and weight of the dishes. During cold weather, flights are often delayed or even cancelled when the weather conditions become extreme. Firstly, during heavy snowfall, visibility can drastically decrease, making it unsafe for airplanes to move on the ground and take off. Air traffic controllers will request planes not to fly during snowstorms and wait for the storm to pass. Additionally, ice on the runway is also a reason for delays. Airplane landing gear is not like the wheels of a car and cannot be equipped with studs or chains to prevent skidding. Even with such equipment, airplanes need to maintain a much higher speed on the ground compared to regular roads in order to take off. If the runway is slippery due to ice, planes can easily skid. An incident like this occurred in January 2014 when an airplane slipped off the runway and into a pile of snow at JFK Airport in New York. Fortunately, no one was injured, but airport personnel had to remove the aircraft from the snow with the assistance of local police. Similarly, landing is even more challenging in cold conditions because the aircraft is in an uncontrolled environment and moving at higher speeds. Additionally, an airplane that is about to take off and skids might end up in an open area, potentially colliding with airport infrastructure. This poses a greater danger to everyone. Cold weather can also cause frost and ice buildup on the aircraft. Even a thin layer of ice on the wings can damage their delicate design and reduce lift. However, airplanes have a method to de-ice. Airport personnel usually spray a special fluid on the plane that prevents ice from forming on the aircraft's body. But if the runway is covered in ice, there is little that can be done unless there is sunlight to melt the ice safely. It is almost impossible to clean the ice from the runway without causing damage or potholes, which can be hazardous during takeoff and landing. Furthermore, there is a possibility of freezing temperatures causing problems with the aircraft's fuel and pump equipment. Aircraft fuel can freeze at temperatures as low as -40 degrees Celsius, but that only happens on the ground before takeoff. During cruising altitude, the temperature can drop as low as -57 degrees Celsius, but because the fuel is inside the aircraft and continuously burned, it remains warmer. However, on the ground, there is nothing to prevent the fuel from freezing. If that happens, the plane cannot fly, and even the fuel pump equipment can be affected, as the pumps may become coated in ice and stop delivering fuel to the aircraft's tanks. In severe cases, this can cause significant damage and require extensive repairs, resulting in prolonged flight delays. As a result, ground personnel have to work diligently before takeoff or landing. However, they are also susceptible to the cold, and human endurance is limited. To address this issue, they work in shifts, with one group of personnel working in the field while another group takes shelter. After 20 minutes, the first group returns to warm up, while the second group continues their tasks. Although this method is efficient, it significantly slows down operations and can cause flight delays. Despite the numerous problems caused by cold weather, it is actually preferable to extreme hot weather. Cold air is denser than hot air, providing airplanes with greater lift and stability in the air. Flight operations are also easier to control because air molecules move slower and are closer together, resulting in more stable airflow around the wings and cockpit. At higher altitudes, the air automatically thins out as the air molecules disperse and become less dense. This is why airplanes cannot enter the upper layers of the atmosphere where there is insufficient air to generate enough lift. On the other hand, the same issue occurs during excessively hot weather on the ground. Air molecules move faster and spread out, meaning that the aircraft's wings do not have enough air to generate sufficient lift and enter the flight mode. To take off in extreme heat, the aircraft must move at a much higher speed to generate enough air resistance and lift. However, the aircraft's engines need to perform optimally to achieve this increased speed, which becomes challenging in extremely hot weather. As the air thins out, the amount of oxygen decreases, and jet engines rely on atmospheric oxygen for combustion. If there is an insufficient supply of this crucial element, the jet engines cannot convert enough energy into thrust. As a result, acceleration is slower, and the overall engine performance is compromised. The issue is further compounded by the fact that the aircraft needs a longer runway distance to generate speed and lift for takeoff. However, this becomes impossible when the engines are not operating at their maximum capacity. In most cases, this is not a significant problem, but there is a specific threshold where ground temperatures reach around 49 degrees Celsius. At this point, some flights may be cancelled. Aft is around 10,700 meters. Technically, aircraft do not need to fly too high, but this altitude provides the best speed and efficiency. Thinner air at higher altitudes results in less wind resistance, but it also reduces lift for most commercial aircraft. The range between 9,000 and 12,000 meters is the sweet spot where air resistance and lift are balanced. You may no longer be using a laptop from 1999, and your computer doesn't fly at the speed of light. Luckily, airplanes have a longer lifespan than computers. There are airlines from the early 1970s that are still operational. Although their speed and fuel efficiency may be inferior to modern aircraft, older planes are just as safe as their modern counterparts. The white contrails, often mistaken for engine exhaust smoke at these altitudes, are actually water vapor. During flight, moisture accumulates in the engine and is expelled as hot exhaust air mixes with the cold, dry air at high altitudes, creating long, thin vapor trails. Humidity determines when contrails form and how long they remain visible. Have you ever noticed the numbers at the end of the runway? They are used to indicate the direction the aircraft is facing. For example, the number 36 means a 360-degree turn or north. Additionally, there are letters R and L to indicate the closest runway is on the right or left. The lights at the wingtips of an aircraft are called position or navigation lights. They are used when visibility decreases. These lights help aircraft see each other in the dark and indicate the direction in which the aircraft is traveling. The red light marks the left wingtip, the green light marks the right wingtip, and the third light, usually white, is located on or near the tail. You may wonder why cabin crew members care about opening or closing the window shades. The main reason is to allow passengers' eyes to adjust to the outside light. Often, it is to expedite boarding and disembarkation. However, in emergency situations, they don't want passengers rubbing their eyes before evacuating the aircraft. Turbulence is caused by sudden changes in airflow, but there's no need to be afraid. You can use a visualization technique suggested by pilots. Place a small cloth in a jelly-filled container and imagine the cloth as the airplane and the jelly as the air pressure. When you hold the cloth on the jelly's surface, it won't fall but will only move slightly within the jelly. When an aircraft reaches its cruising altitude, the sound of the engines may appear quieter, even though the engines are still running. The sound of the aircraft's engines at high altitude is muffled because less thrust is needed in thinner air to maintain altitude. If the pilot continues to ascend, the aircraft will exceed the speed of sound, causing discomfort for passengers. The small openings at the back of the aircraft's tail are part of the auxiliary power unit. These openings generate power for the aircraft's electrical systems, including navigation lights, heating, and air conditioning. The power unit activates when the aircraft is on the runway and deactivates when the aircraft's engines are running. It doesn't supply the entire power to the aircraft. Instead, it shuts off when the engines are running and activates again when needed. When an aircraft lands at the destination airport, the engines are mounted under the wings to make aircraft engine servicing cheaper, faster, and easier. In the past, the engines were located at the rear, which required longer and more expensive repairs. However, after the engines were positioned under the wings, ticket prices became more affordable. In most aircraft, passengers sitting in the emergency exit rows must raise the window shades before closing them. The purpose is to ensure the safety of the emergency exits. The emergency doors located above the wings can be used to evacuate the aircraft in case of an emergency. Some emergency window exits are directly attached to the aircraft, while others are separate from the fuselage. However, all of them have an emergency handle on top of the panel, and these doors cannot be opened without the assistance of the handle. The handles are also located outside the aircraft, allowing rescue teams to open them from the outside. Due to the presence of these handles, the upper part of the window shade does not have any gaps, but the lower part still has several openings. Now you know. The right armrest of the aisle seat can be lifted, and the key is located beneath the armrest. It's not a button but a lever installed near the back of the seat. You can pull it to allow passengers next to you to pass through. The left armrest of the window seat also serves a similar function. Just lift the armrest if you want to lean against the window, but don't forget to lower it when the aircraft is taking off or landing to ensure your safety. Aircraft are usually towed by ground vehicles when they are leaving the parking area at the airport. This is not because the aircraft cannot move in reverse on its own. To move backward, an aircraft needs to use reverse thrust, but strong air currents can cause debris to enter the engine or pose a danger to the ground vehicles and runway crew. It can also waste fuel and create excessive noise. Moreover, pilots don't have rear-view mirrors like car drivers, so they cannot see behind the aircraft. Hence, this risky maneuver is prohibited at airports. Aircraft surfaces are made smooth to facilitate smooth airflow and reduce drag during flight. Therefore, any protruding or uneven parts, such as the yellow hook-like protrusions, would worsen the aerodynamics. However, they are essential for safety considerations. Imagine a scenario where an aircraft needs to perform a water landing in the middle of the ocean. The bird of steel must glide on the water's surface, and then rescue vessels quickly arrive for evacuation. Before the aircraft doors are opened, the evacuation slides are deployed, and passengers must walk on the wings to slide down. To prevent accidents, the wing surface is lubricated with water, ensuring that passengers don't slip. If the cabin crew attaches a safety rope, one end is tied to the door and the other is secured to the wing edge. During the evacuation process, these ropes can be used as handholds for both passengers and cabin crew. Additionally, the cabin crew can deploy life rafts on the wings using ropes and hooks to prevent them from being carried away by currents. During the flight, the cabin crew always holds onto the overhead racks above the seats. However, they no longer check passengers' bags. Instead, along the lower edge of the overhead compartments, there are hidden handles. The cabin crew needs to hold onto these handles to maintain balance. This way, they don't have to touch passenger seats or disturb them while moving through the cabin. Have you ever noticed that the cabin lights flicker just before takeoff? This indicates that the pilot is switching the electrical supply from the airport's power source to the aircraft's power supply. The transition happens quickly, causing the cabin lights to flicker. Passengers always board the aircraft from the left side because the pilot's seat is on the left, making it easier for the pilot to align the aircraft with the terminal using the nosewheel steering. Fueling and baggage loading are also carried out from the right side of the aircraft. If passengers board from the left, the ground crew can work more efficiently. There is a black triangle on the upper wall of the passenger seats. This triangle indicates that the seat has a good view. You can take aesthetic photos from there and share them on your social media. But that's not all. The cabin crew can also monitor the aircraft's condition through the window beneath this triangle. If there is an engine freeze, fire, or if the pilot receives a distress signal, the cabin crew can quickly approach this triangle to assess the situation. If you have ever heard mysterious sounds inside the aircraft during the flight, it's actually a secret language used by the cabin crew to communicate. The sound is usually heard a few moments after takeoff, and it informs the cabin crew that the landing gear has been retracted. A single chime during the flight indicates that a passenger requires assistance. If a flight attendant runs out of food or beverages while serving, they can request restocking. They communicate this using a combination of high and low chimes. 3 low chimes indicate severe turbulence, and the cabin crew must take their seats. The function of seat belts on an aircraft is different from those in cars. In a car, seat belts protect us from horizontal impact, while on an aircraft, they prevent us from hitting the cabin ceiling during turbulence when the aircraft shakes up and down. The tray tables, seat belt buckles, and toilet door handles are the most favored spots for bacteria. Seat pockets are also prone to collecting various types of trash, even if they have been cleaned. So, the next passenger becomes an easy target for these germs. Extreme heat can prevent an aircraft from taking off. Aircraft generate lift from the wings, and the air beneath the wings lifts the aircraft. However, in extreme weather conditions, when the air is hot, it becomes less dense than cold air, resulting in reduced lift. The aircraft will struggle to take off and stay airborne. Additionally, electronic equipment and the AC system can be disrupted by extreme heat and humidity. Small particles cannot operate at temperatures above 48 degrees Celsius, while large Airbus and Boeing aircraft are best operated at temperatures below 52 degrees Celsius.